Hey everybody, this is Erin here. Haven't made a video in a while, but I wanted to make a video in response to the October 10th, 2017 video with Professor Griff and talking about the FBI's memo regarding the black identity extremists. This past week was the first time I heard that. And I was like, yeah, why am I not surprised? What are some of the other extremist groups? These Islamic extremists, these fundamental extremists. These are like code words, or not code words, but these are words that the power structure uses to either create or maintain an enemy. They always have to have an enemy because they have to justify what they're doing. And as far as the so-called black identity extremists, it seems to me that for the last few years, especially with these attempts to legislate gun control, these failed attempts. Also, in addition to these failed attempts at legislating gun control, a lot of these armed conflicts between police brutality and these protests that are going on, just seems to me that there is plausibility that these things have some outside forces within them that are trying to create a condition where there is justification for the internment or the return of these harsh measures against black people in general. They're using this pretext of these six acts of violence that black men have perpetrated against the police, and how these six acts define this growing threat against law enforcement. But going back to the whole concept of black identity extremists, there is this growing awareness of black identity in this country. That's a fact. Whether you are identifying as a black Moor or a black Hebrew or a black Egyptian or a black these people that were traditionally black and people of color from antiquity. Especially, you notice these nations that are mentioned in scriptures. You know, scriptures have been whitewashed, but we know, or we ought to know, that the nations that are mentioned in scriptures, the majority of them are people of color nations. And so these nations that were mentioned in scripture, a lot of these nations are there was a portion of them that were destroyed. God said he would destroy them. The Most High, Yahuwah, said he would destroy them. But then there is a remaining number of nations that he has preserved, that he has appointed, that he's going to deal with at a future time. But needless to say, the scriptures foretold of a time when different people groups would be punished and carried away into their enemies' lands. And it just so happens that in the United States we have Hebrews, we have Moors, we have Egyptians, we have all this historical legacy in the United States. And although the majority of black people don't realize who they are historically, They've just been given this blanket African American or Black American label, which is nondescript. It doesn't mean anything. Nevertheless, within these people groups, within this nation are these different people groups. So the awareness of this growing awareness that we are more than just Black Americans or more than African Americans or Negro Americans, this is a concern. Just the growing awareness of this is a concern. And if you would hold on for a minute, I am filtering some water. Okay, I'm back. I had to change the water bottle out. The water bottle was full. But anyway, what was I saying? So there's this growing awareness of this Black identity. Now the extremism part, you have those within each one of these groups that have this deep sense of injustice. And it's understandable. It's understandable. When you see a lot of these, or you perceive that a lot of these injustices are happening all about you, there is this indignation that rises up. Okay, but Black people traditionally have not responded to white brutality as one would expect. That just has not been part of our experience. There have been resistances, the slave rebellions, they were some of the examples, but there being an overall general threat to the white population, I think a lot of that is it comes out of the oppressor's guilty mind. They know at some point justice has to be served, and so they're trying to cover all their bases. This is why they are so intent on developing all of this magnificent technology with these drones, with these DEWs, and just all of this stuff. They want to be able to contain this threat that they perceive that will be coming. And no doubt a threat is coming. The scriptures tell us that the Most High God is going to gather the nations and deal with he's going to deal with them. So I've always maintained that whether Black people are peaceful or whether they are in whatever capacity they operate in, there's always this element of threat to the dominant society or the perceived dominant society. I mean, we can't help that. We can't help that. But this is what we can help. Because I'm pretty sure I've been targeted as a possible Black identity extremist. I mean, I don't know why, because I don't advocate violence, but an awakened mind is also a threat. And not just an awakened mind, because there's been minds that have been awakened since time immemorial to the issues, to the real issues, to what is truly going on and why things are in such disarray throughout society. There have been many people who have been aware of that. But in this day and time, in the 21st century, 2017, in the United States, in the Americas, for a Black person to recognize that they are, in my case, I have recognized that I am a Hebrew. I am one of the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And one of the powerful elements of that thought is that the Most High God said, He said, listen, certain things are going to happen this is what he told Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Certain things are going to happen to your descendants because, I gave them a plan to be a successful nation, to make them the head, not the tail. And they turned away from me and wanted to become like, the rest of the other nations. So because I was in a special relationship with you and your people, and your children turned away, I'm going to deal with them. And that's what he's done with us. He's dealt with us here in the United States and wherever he has dispersed us. Deuteronomy 28 talks about that. But in Deuteronomy 30, the Most High God established a very specific promise. He said, when these things come into your mind, in all the nations that you've been scattered into, and you return to me with all your heart and with all your mind and with all your soul, he says, then I'm going to turn your captivity. And not only is he going to turn our captivity, he's going to deal with those who were our captives. So in my mind today, the biggest threat to Western civilization is a Hebrew who recognizes that his or her power is directly associated to their relationship with the Most High God. I'm not talking about no churches. I'm not talking about these pastors. I'm not talking about these denominations. If anything, do yourself a favor and stay as far away from those gatekeepers as you possibly can. They are muddying the water. People cannot understand the simple, historical, prophetic aspects of the scriptures because they have muddied it up with their white supremacist ideology. Yes, black people have adopted this white supremacist ideology that's been attached to the scriptures, talking about this man Jesus. There is no man named Jesus. His name is Yahushua. Jesus Christ is a straw man. They've created this straw man to stand directly in the way of you receiving the power that you need to deal with this oppressive, demonic environment that we're in. Now, the enemy knows. This is what the enemy knows. Each Hebrew, each person, doesn't matter what nation you come from, that takes a hold of these promises and says, I want to return wholeheartedly to the Most High. He is the creator of heaven and earth. He has control over all of this. And I want him to work mightily in my life, personally, and on behalf of my people that are all around me. The minute that they begin to do this, the enemy's power is broken. And one of the first things that the Most High God is going to liberate, he's going to liberate your mind. Your mind has to be liberated. You cannot experience liberation coming out of the oppressor's educational system, coming out of the oppressor's religious systems, coming out of the oppressor's social systems. Anything that the oppressor has put his filthy hands on, you can't experience liberation of the mind. And this is why it was so important for the oppressor to get a hold to the Hebrew scriptures and just completely whitewash it and just completely just change the whole emphasis and dynamics of that. But you don't have to worry about what they have done, because when you take the scriptures as they are and you begin to talk to the Most High and ask him to reveal to you what it is for you, what you need for your mind to be liberated, he will do it, for he will begin to do it immediately. If you have a true heart and you're willing to walk in the way that he said a righteous and successful people ought to walk, he's got, look, the sky's the limit. This guy, listen, listen. We have some historical information, documentation that lets you know what our people were doing long time ago. And it had these heathen Gentile nations, they were afraid because they recognized that we had a connection to the Most High God. We knew who he was, and we were wrecking shop. And it wasn't with a whole bunch of us. It was with a handful of people who believed and trusted in God. And guess what? All the nations around them, they said, look, we got to do something. These folks are dominating us. And so from that time on, these other nations, what they have tried to do is study how to separate you from the Most High God. They'll even create this straw man called Jesus Christ, whitewash him, make him look like this gay, weak, pathetic European, and have you bowing down to a false image. That is not who Yahushua is. Yahushua was sent by his father, Yahuwah. Yahushua's name means Yah is salvation. He's sent to save. And if we are in oppression, we need saving. And salvation is available. It's available right now. The salvation of our mind. The salvation of our soul. When Yahushua came, he wasn't just talking about, you know how the churches like to have you thinking salvation is mainly dealing with the soul. Oh, salvation of your soul. And they don't deal with nothing else. They're not showing that salvation is a package deal. If you look at Isaiah 58, the Most High said, is this not the fast that I've chosen? That you loose the bands of wickedness, that you break every yoke, that you let the prisoner go free, that you feed the hungry. This is a whole kit and caboodle. This ain't no, oh, your soul is good so you can just sit back. No, that's the oppressor's nonsense. That's the oppressor's nonsense. So this black identity extremists, listen, they can slap that label on whoever they want at any time. And I don't even care. Slap it. Put it on me. When you have a connection with the Most High, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This system, this Babylonian, demonic matrix of a system is going down. And the Most High says he's going to take it down. And he says in, I believe it's Revelation, let me see. I believe it's Revelation 17. He says Babylon is going to be thrown down like a millstone. It says he uses the imagery of this angel that takes up this big millstone and casts it down into the midst of the sea. He said that's how Babylon is going down. And so we don't have nothing to worry about these labels that are being thrown out here. In fact, we know that things are going to get so bad. The system is going to be so in fear for maintaining their dominancy that a lot of us, they're going to be trying to throw in these FEMA camps. They're going to be taking political prisoners, denying due process. They're going to be doing all that kind of stuff. But look, this is what they did to the 3 Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace. They didn't have no due process. When Nebuchadnezzar says, you're not going to bow down to me? Into the fiery furnace you go. And they say, hey, listen, we serve the Most High God. If we got to go into the furnace we'll go. But we're not bowing down to you. It ain't happening. And he threw them in there. And man, when you trust in the Most High, he shows up. Nebuchadnezzar thought he threw in 3 Hebrew boys. But guess what? He saw 4 people in there. All right? And look, you people of color, you dark-skinned people, stop with this nonsense that the scriptures, oh, these are fables and we can't... Stop with that. Stop with that. Go to the scriptures. The way you test whether or not the scriptures are the powerhouse that has been said that they are, you put it to the test. Start implementing the Proverbs. Ask the Most High to help you implement the wisdom that He has put in the scriptures. Help you to understand those stories. And I testify to you right now, you will see your life. If you are a true, honest, hearted person, your life will be changed. You will not recognize yourself. You will not recognize yourself. You will be changed. So give it a chance. Stop listening to every Tom, Dick, and Harry who's got some pontification about why this is that and this is that. We're supposed to test all things and prove all things. Prove it. And don't worry about the FBI, the CIA, this whole white system that continually oppresses us. They have to answer to the Most High. So that's my deal. That's my thing for today. Don't worry about all that stuff. All right, until next time.